Obeduji Pegalujinda, no Buddha, Chhoje. And you Sambagala, Chazalo, the Jin, the Judges, the Jum. Yenda Dunda, Buzo, Pepe, Minu Gezemo, the Jinda Judy. Judu Gawashing, Gama, Gesomo, Trashi, Hamo, Gelas. Sambashimbo de Jum Semeco, Midonda. Pakiboda, no one Mimiza, Namke said there has a color down to show that. You want to teach the thing, Sasumnes. You take one, Gela, Chatter. Raja Dinder Java Zumbala, Gitan, what's a word? To the baby, some day in Drum, Trashi, Raja Dinder Java. Gitan, what's a word? Kujini, the baby, some day in Drum, Trashi. Raja Dinder Java Zumbala, Gitan, what's a word? The baby, some day in Drum, Trashi, so far. Who would give you the Johnson, Pemarcus, no border, yes. Pemarju, Nations, Cordo, Condo, Monte, Kiki, Chingi, Guru Pema, City, who would give you the Johnson, Pemarcus, no border, yes. Pemarju, Nations, Cordo, Condo, Monte, Kiki, Chingi. Guru Pema City, who would give you the Johnson, Pemarcus, no border, yes. Cordo control mobile could kick ages. Chingal of Jesus, Guru Perma, see. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. So wonderful to see some people I can see, and I hope you all are doing well. It's, my daily prayer. I take refuge in the triple gem so that all being can realize their enlightened mind, and then our sangha, that everyone is well and healthy in this really difficult time of decadent time, where passions and aggression burning like fire, and then that's mean the happiness, the level of happiness can reduce, and it's a lot of suffering happening in the world. So all the world, all sentient beings, wherever the space prevails, beings prevail, wherever beings prevail, affliction and ignorance prevail. Wherever there is affliction and ignorance, naturally the bodhisattvas and Buddhas enlightened activities and their aspiration prevails. And that's really the when I said that, like wherever beings prevails, affliction prevails. Wherever affliction prevails, there is suffering. And so does the bodhisattva aspiration and enlightened activity permeates that. And when we say permeates that, it means that, you see, there isn't a compassion. Compassion is directly countering our opposite of compassion, which is ignorance and ego. Since the essence of ignorance and afflictions is enlightened mind. So enlightened mind and world of samsara afflictions are really so close to each other. It's like one coin with two sides. So in a way, it's not that when we say I generate bodhicitta mind, compassion mind, to bunch of confused, miserable being. You see, that's not the point. You know, if we try to look at compassion is totally different, and miserable being, confused mind, affliction mind is totally different, then there is misunderstanding how we connect the bridge between affliction and enlightened mind. Affliction and enlightened mind, when you see the essence of affliction, that's where you find the enlightened mind. So, in a way, wherever the affliction prevails, naturally the bodhicitta mind prevails. Naturally, compassion and aspiration of the opposite of ignorance, which is wisdom, always shines through. So bodhisattvas and Buddhas means awakened. The awakened mind aspirations are infinite. Wherever there's an affliction, it is simply there, right there. So when we look at within our own mind, that's the case. We see um, how from the training of the Sharvakayana or Hinayana, and then the Mahayana, and then the Vajrayana, how we can see on what level, how we really, we relate to affliction, how we can counter them so that we can be free of those affliction. The basic ethical practice of Hinayana, or the conduct, proper conducts, and ethical practice of Hinayana. Then the Mahayana, inner Mahayana practice of compassion, how to see, we experience compassion. Compassion is two parts. One is the wisdom part, and one is the aspect of activity, where you counter the affliction, the passion. We call the passion with compassion. I don't know exactly what the Latin word is. Sounded like, we can try to understand from the with the Dharma point of view, passion and compassion are they're so linked together. So wherever there is a passion, then you feel compassion, like, seeing one's compassion to oneself, being one is trapped within one's own projection and one's own ego, and then compassion to others, whatever the manifestation of that compassion can be, such as someone didn't have food to eat, or someone needs to be alleviated from a particular suffering, or whatever kind of suffering. There's a natural counter, more powerful emotion, or more powerful passion, and then the neurotic passion. So therefore, probably that's what Latin word compassion means. But that's exactly the meaning in the Buddha Dharma. Compassion is, yes, they're both emotional. When you have something affliction, it's emotion. So that's probably what means passion. We can say passion. But then when you have like seeing the affliction, such as one's ego, that one is trapped, that one can see that's a wrong thing. One can see that is the cause of our suffering. That's the cause what samsara spins around. So then a more powerful mind with valid cause and valid um, logic, valid reason, which counters more powerfully, absorb that negative emotion or negative passion. And that's what we experience, compassion. So therefore, why in the Buddha Dharma, the teaching of compassion and the wisdom is taught so much, is the only answer to our suffering, and the only answer, the way to the path of liberation. There will be no liberation, and there will be no wisdom without combining this compassion and the wisdom of emptiness. So these two become essentially important. It's directly related with our mind. It's not a myth. It's not like, one of the points I made earlier, compassion doesn't mean, oh, that miserable person, I feel compassion. or may the Lord bring compassion to that person, but that person is miserable. That's not how it's seen in the Buddha Dharma. In Buddha Dharma, our own affliction essence is the wisdom, is the union of wisdom and compassion. So therefore, that's what uh, the mind which is trapped can be freed and liberated by seeing the reality, by seeing its essence. So they are just there, So therefore, basic goodness, what we talk about, basic goodness is not outside of you. Basic goodness does not lie in a temple or another in a monastery or in a particular place. Basic goodness lies directly within your passions. You know. So that's very important to understand, not to lose the point that compassion means somewhere else it will come and to a miserable situation, a miserable person. That's not the case. That very miserable state of mind, such as our ignorance and such as our ego, that itself contains the solution to absolve that. But we don't pay much attention to it. We just get habituated in that external way of seeing the passions and affliction, habituated to that, and we just run with that. So we never sit and try to see the essence. So therefore, meditation and the practice of Tonglen, compassion, the practice of compassion and practice of meditation become essentially important for a person, for him or her to be freed from one's own confusion and suffering is the only way. You have no other option in the entire universe. You're equipped to solve that fundamentally. As long as there's a consciousness, there's an awareness, its basic quality is basic goodness. Its basic quality is not inherent afflictions or confusion. Its basic quality is basic goodness. That's so much emphasized. Buddhist teaching start with that. It's not that you are eternally like some badness, whatever, and then someone has to save you. And even if someone saves you, you can never be perfect. That's not the point of Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma goes to the point. Point is, here is your affliction. Here is your ignorance. The cycle of this whole cycle of all, basically samsara or suffering or cause and effect. This all begins from the confusion. So now, if it's begin from the ignorance and affliction, try to understand what is confusion, what types of ignorance are there, and how the affliction happens, and how we allow it to happen. Now you try to stop that affliction, try to work against that ignorance, the whole thing stops. Therefore, in the wheel of life, in the center of the wheel of life, there's a pig, there's a rooster, and there's a snake. The pig symbolizes ignorance, the rooster symbolizes attachment, and the snake symbolizes aggression. Like snake, when we see a snake, we all get scared naturally because of this tremendous karma built up of anger, aggression. Why we just, it looks like so innocent in a way, snake, but moment anyone get close to a snake, there's a sense of fear. And that's because you see the energy of aggression build up. Of course, it has other affliction too, but that's the predominant affliction for snake is aggression. So in the wheel of life, those are the three root cause of all our confusion and all our affliction and all our suffering caused by these three, they are called three poison, because if you take poison, you will be dead. Same thing, by engaging in the three poison, your suffering and confusion will never end. So those are the three causes. Then, the result of the three causes are the birth to the six realms of life. The devas realms, the demigods realm, like we've seen, Hollywood movies too. they've probably taken those stories from ancient uh, Hindu culture and Buddhist culture, like gods. And we're not talking the Judeo-Christian version of God, but here we are talking about the gods' realm, pleasurable realm, and then the demigods who are fighting the war of titans and the gods. Then the human being that we all know, who we are subjected to the four main suffering is birth, old age, sickness, and death, and of course many other kinds of suffering. But those are the four major suffering of human being. And then we know now three lower realms. There's three upper realms and three lower realms. Three upper realms are the God's realm, demigods, and then the human. And the three lower realms are animal, a hungry ghost, and a hell realm. So, of course, we see animals realm, all infinite levels of creatures, bugs and snakes of all kinds, and four-leggeds of all kinds, and mammals and this and that. So we see infinite number of creatures, which are animals really. They share the same consciousness, but they're trapped in that body, what they karmically, what they have, created with the seed. So they begin to experience that particular realm of such as the known as the realm of animal. Then there's hungry ghosts that we humans cannot see, but like these basically spirits, the paranormal, we call paranormal. Those are many of them are hungry ghosts really. And then there's the hell. So each one of them, the birth of each one of them, there's a seed to that. Like for example, we need a seed uh, for like an apple, you need the seed of an apple. Same thing, the seed of the gods, really, the seed of the demigods, and then the humans, and then the animal to be born into animal, to be born into hungry ghosts, to be born into hell realm. Or, and that also like not just one thing, the infinite levels of humans, whether wealth, power, or poverty, or knowledge, or ideas, infinite. And same thing among animals also, we see infinite forms of body, so many kinds of body. The same thing in the hungry ghost, same thing in the elder. The same thing among the gods realm. They're the powerful gods and weaker gods, and in between gods. Same thing in the hungry ghosts, same thing among humans. So all due to one's karma, cycle of cause and effect, that we planted the seed, therefore they all ripen, and when they ripen, they all manifest in that way. Now, so therefore, what are the causes of all this thing? Is the three root poison: uh, ignorance, aggression, and attachment are the three root poison. And then it all started, if you look at the wheel of life, the outer ring start with this blind man. Blind men symbolize ignorance. So everything happens, all our confusion, suffering happens due to ignorance. So from ignorance comes affliction. And so, in fact, every level of affliction is permeated with ignorance. The whole system of our mind, whether there's a gross ego or subtle ego, or gross passion or subtle ego, is permeated with ignorance. And that ignorance is the notion of self, that even there is no self in reality, but one believes in the self, everything is real. I'm real, that is real. In fact, when you really analyze, you don't find anything real. You find, impermanence in nature. All conditioned phenomena is impermanence in nature. The four pillars of Buddhist teaching. It's called four pillars of Buddhism. All conditioned phenomena is impermanence. All afflictions are downfall. And um, and all phenomena is essence is emptiness, third is. And then the fourth is nirvana is peace. There's the four kind of, it's called four pillars of Buddhism, was translated by the translator in English. It's called four pillars of Buddhism. So how we see phenomena? We see all conditioned phenomena by nature is impermanence. There's no condition which is permanent. All are changing constantly. Therefore, all conditioned phenomena, including our body, including the world, including the solar system, galaxies, you name it, the whole thing by conditioned nature is impermanence. That's the first truth, the first pillar of Buddhism. Second is, all affliction is downfall because they bring suffering to us. So all affliction is by nature suffering. It's called. All afflictions are by suffering. And the third is, the nature of entire phenomena in essence is emptiness, means it's basic goodness. If one realized that, if one realized the essence or the unconditioned nature, here one is to go to the unconditioned nature of all phenomena is emptiness, means devoid of absence of any self, devoid of absence of any self. That's the third word. No phenomena is any particular self. It's simply all label. That's where the teaching of Maya and the teaching of dependent origination comes into effect. Because in the teaching of dependent origination, the Buddhist view of the ultimate view of Buddhism is not seeing everything as impermanent. The ultimate view of Buddhism from the sutra point of view is everything is dependent origination. Meaning, once you understand the dependent origination, you see the absence of inherent independent existence. And by seeing that, from the sutra point of view, that's how far you can go by seeing an absence of any self. When you see absence of any self, remember that doesn't mean nothingness, because here you're talking a subjective mind. When we talk about emptiness, there is someone to experience emptiness, but that doesn't mean emptiness is a self. You can't say emptiness is a self, but at the same time, emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. So it's neither something nor nothingness. The dualistic mind always works, either it has to be something or it has to be nothing. So automatically, when we talk about emptiness, we try to create a balloon, sort of like if you blow the balloon inside is empty. We try to think like empty like that. We try to think empty like of a room or empty of a glass or empty of anything. Basically, that's our dualistic mind. So trained in the dualistic pattern of thinking, automatically one comes to a conclusion, nothingness. That's how we have to understand that language has limitation. Language cannot give the rawness. Language can only give a picture of that subject. If I say sugar, you don't taste sweet right away. But those who have tasted sugar, you have an idea what sugar means. So language can only give a picture of the subject, but language cannot give the rawness of the subject. Rawness you have to taste. It is said that the experience of emptiness is like a dumb person who tastes the sugar. And if you ask, do you taste sweetness? Would bow the head or, just show you a sign, yes, but cannot explain because it's dumb. Yes, taste it, but cannot explain. So it's like that. So therefore, language has limitation. So sometimes when we talk about emptiness, without looking deeply and genuinely to the subject, people get into misunderstanding, and they think, oh, it's like emptiness means nothingness. And that's not what it meant, because there is something to experience emptiness. So it's a question of subjective awareness. That you can see the clarity, you can see, you can cut through that the notion of nothingness, nihilism. Nihilism is not the ultimate view of Buddhism. In fact, therefore, it is said that small-minded people, if they see emptiness in the wrong way, they will be destroyed. That's mean getting falling into nihilism. If you see the emptiness in the wrong way, then you think of nothingness. Now it's just like completely fall towards. That's called nihilistic. That's not what it means. Think about what I just said. Emptiness can be experienced, but you can't pinpoint it. If you say emptiness is an object, emptiness, no, but it can be fully awakened into that state. It's not neither eternalism nor nihilism. So that's why it's called the view of the middle path. And the dependent origination explanation on the nature of emptiness is the most profound that one can really understand. So we should study and we should really have a clear understanding of emptiness, not just like a wrong perception about emptiness. This is very important. Then once it's done, so once you have a dependent origination view on emptiness, dependent origin is so clear that Nagarjuna has explained so clear. Then finally you have to meditate, because theory understanding is not enough. You need to sit and you need to meditate, and then awakening has to take place from your heart. That you cannot conceptualize emptiness. Anyway, so therefore, the point here is affliction contains. Affliction, the very word affliction already is, for me, the English word feels like many tentacles. It's not one unitary. It's not independent. It's not oneness, but like many, tentacles. So means many facets, means no independent state. So when we talk about affliction, and it's true, I use many times example in the past. For example, let's just use one example of anger. So when we have an anger, suddenly when an anger comes, there is a subjective mind, there is an objective, another person. And due to many factors, then the so-called anger arises. But anger didn't arise as a unitary, one independent state by itself. If there is such thing, a unitary, one independent state, the emotion of anger, if it does exist, then that can never be destroyed. You can never have the feeling of forgiveness, because that unitary oneness, independence, is eternal then. There's no such emotion which is eternal. You can feel anger and you can move forward from that. You can let go of that. The same thing with all of the emotions. So that's why it shows the essence of all phenomena, internal or external, is emptiness, nature of emptiness. Now, when we talk about emptiness, then, really the version get deeper. Emptiness, understanding of emptiness from the Hinayana point of view, understanding of emptiness from the Mahayana point of view, understanding of emptiness from the Vajrayana point of view, understanding of emptiness from the Mahamudra point of view, understanding of emptiness from the Dzogchen point of view. Within the Dzogchen, there's a mind section, space section, pit instruction section. What is ultimate reality, in fact? So let's put it that way. What is the ultimate reality? So all this goes deeper and deeper, and what makes it on the path, let's say a one-person journey of life, one-person journey. We each journey on the, journey of our life. So one-person journey on the path of spirituality, why we don't see the ultimate reality? Because ultimate reality is within your mind. Ultimately, it's our culture of habit, culture of samsaric culture. Here, I'm not going to talk American culture or European culture or African culture or Eastern culture. It's just the culture of our samsaric culture, which is self, ego self, and duality. So therefore, it takes time. That's where the word purification comes. Purification means like it happens gradually through your practice of mindfulness, through your practice of meditation, through whatever your practice is of Dharma practice. Then gradually as we shed the thick habitual obscuration, then the more the lighter we get with our obscuration, then the more we begin to see the light through that. And that's been transcendence. Transcendence happening. And that can happen in many different levels of practice. You can have purification through your Tonglen practice. For example, you get really angry with someone and you do Tonglen practice and you get freed. So you're purified there. Certain level of purification has happened. Otherwise, you won't feel the openness. And as you keep maintaining that mindfulness and that awareness, then it goes deeper and deeper, day by day by day. Why our practice every day is so important, taking the refuge and taking bodhicitta, essential in dedicating the merit, because that's how we're going to traverse our path on the path of or culture of duality. That once we have overcome and thin this culture of duality, then we begin to see the space, the open space with clarity inside. And so therefore, Dharma path is not something you will, suddenly, you know, turn around your whole life in one day. You need persistence, you need patience, you need mindfulness, you need awareness, because you've got to deal with all your habits, which you have collected from immemorial time until now. And it takes time for it to shed. And all the different methods is shown according to one's mental capacity. One should do that. So not everyone is ready for Vajrayana. Some are not even ready for Mahayana. Some just Hinayana practice, is the best for them. And those level of mind should just do the Sharvakayana practice or the Hinayana practice. And then there are people of the Mahayana capacity, and so those people should follow the Mahayana path. And then there are Vajrayana path, and the Vajrayana path is really get very condensed and very powerful. But at the same time, anything condensed and powerful, it can be also, if one is not ready, then you won't able to digest that. You won't able to handle that. It's like someone who have a weak digestive system, and if you take like a 1 can of condensed milk, you will have nausea. You're gonna not able to handle that. Or eating like a big steak, you thought it's a great idea, but once you started eating the steak, it's not digesting in you. So then there's a problem. So therefore, one is to see how one's mind capability to what? Capability to overcome affliction. That's it, basically. But along the way, while we all know that, yes, I need to handle my affliction. We all know that. But along the way, affliction comes with a whole culture. Culture of society, cultures of family, finally, culture of oneself, subtle emotions, subtle mental gossips, all kinds of things happening in our life. And they all affect us, how we judge, how we see things, and how we judge, and how we get trapped up into those culture. Therefore, the Vajrayana, there is one very powerful word called pure vision. This is a very powerful word. If we start to seeing everybody is a problem, we can never become Buddhas. We can never become Bodhisattvas. We have to, from the Mahayana point of view, it says that every being has been your parents, for example. It's a very powerful way of looking at things. If you started to see everyone has been your parents at one time or another in the course of your millions of lifetimes, then you feel a sense of forgiveness easily. And when, just like this lifetime mother, that person who has been my mother, when I was their children, they have given the same love and affection like this lifetime mother. So when you have that notion, all your anger and all your negative emotions get removed. You're able to forgive. You're able to move forward. So that's how the difference of Hinayana and Mahayana. Mahayana look at things in that level. Great compassion. The Ma means great mind. By seeing that, you remove afflictions and neuroses, and then you move forward and you bring happiness to others, you bring happiness to yourself. Then in the Vajrayana called pure vision, meaning understanding that everyone has basic goodness, that fundamentally the essence is pure. All men are dakas, skillful meaning, all feminines are dakinis, wisdom, expert. So if one can maintain that awareness, then you're not going to see a person, John as a John, Mary as a Mary, We have a lot of concepts invested with John, a lot of concepts invested with Mary. Oh, Mary is this nice and she can be nasty and this, and John can be not good and this and that. So we have a lot of that ordinary perception invested. So a true Vajrayana practitioner, the basis foundation is bodhicitta compassion. And in order to bring about that compassion to work, one maintains a pure vision of deities. One is fundamentally that pure awareness is deity, dakas and dakinis. In that way, the path is very swift compared to impure vision path. Mahayana still have an impure vision path. Oh yes, John is John, Mary is Mary. But John may have been my father one time, and Mary may have been my mother one time. And then, if you get really angry, you just kind of, your whole aggression begins to go less. And then you feel more opening and more caring and more compassion, to them. Even if each person depends, you feel like sense of connection. You feel some sense of forgiveness. That's how the Mahayana comes. Mahayana actions come. So in the Vajrayana, then it's like all dakas and dakinis. That's very hard. In order to come to that level, you have to have great development of Mahayana path compassion. Otherwise, it's not possible to have that kind of understanding and working situation. Especially when the culture surrounding you, as I said, is so challenging. And other people, to deal with other people are challenging, as well as dealing with oneself is challenging. Therefore, how you do the practice in order to deal with the challenging environment is based on your own mind. Whether your mind is a Hinayana mindset or Mahayana mindset or Vajrayana mindset, accordingly you will be able to deal with the situation. But foundation of all those is basic goodness. That's really the difference of the Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma sees that every being has the quality of basic goodness. All afflictions are temporarily. In fact, they are called temporal advantages. That's the obscuration. But by removing the temporal obscurations, then one begins to see the ultimate true body of three kayas: Dharmakaya, Sambhavakaya, Nirmanakaya, the ultimate body. So therefore, this is our path, this is our journey. You see, we all journey on the path with affliction right now. All kinds of culture that we bring around, culture of, like one thing in the trauma practice, those who are doing trauma practice, I find it really amazing. Like trauma practice say, the demons of aggression and the hordes of aggression, its habits, its culture, all of them, cutting through that. Then it's called like the demons of attachment, the demon of ignorance. It's really so profound there. That's what it means is our culture. We have so much culture, these three, afflictions, the ignorance and aggression and attachment. We live in this. We swim through this every day. So therefore, now to begin with, that's, one has to start understanding that all these phenomena, first thing, even if you look at the step by step, 4 pillars of Buddhism, which I just mentioned earlier, it didn't say that you should see all phenomena as emptiness in the first place. First, you say you should see, the first stage is see all condition as impermanence. Then once you've seen everything is impermanent, now the second thing is look, the internal subjective, all afflictions is nature of suffering. Affliction is coming within our own mind, not from outside. Even let's say you see like a two-horned person on the street at night with a fang and everything as we described, demons and whatever. But your own fear at that time, when you see that your fear will bring you a sense of fear of survival, and that will bring, in order to protect yourself, it will bring aggression, anger, to fight against it. And then, all the rest of the culture of afflictions will come along. Now, who become more demon? Outside that or you? You become bigger demon inside. Your fear will make you the biggest demon. So therefore, you see, we need to address directly, afflictions, understanding affliction, how to deal with them. That's where the answer is. Most people don't do that. We try to fight against the outside world, thinking our problem comes from the outside world. While I'm innocent, I'm naive, I have no fault. That's not true. So therefore, Dharma means work within our own mind. In fact, in reality, it's really none of our business to make judgment other people. We should make judgment to our own mind. In the 7 points of mind training, Jamgon Kongtrul will explain, out of two measurements, judging others or judging by oneself, the one-self judgment is the best, meaning how you are, you know better about your own mind than anybody else telling you you are great or not great or this or that. That doesn't matter. In fact, even your enemies who hated you, let's say, who have always have negative opinion about you, but if you meet them on the street, people show a nice face. Oh, how wonderful you are! How this, but deep inside they know you're a shit. You know, that's how. Now, which one should you believe? External judgment or your own mind? Whether you have compassion or not, you know yourself. Whether you how much affliction, you know yourself. If your jealousy is strong, you know yourself. If your aggression is strong, you know yourself. If your ignorance is strong, you know yourself. That's where you need to make judgment. Your own mind should be the judgment, honestly and genuinely about yourself. And then work on the path of your life. Sometimes I would rather not call Dharma also. Just work with your life. Because this is what is most precious and important to you. Is how you handle your life situation, the culture surrounding that we have built up, the culture of all affliction, which has built up so many complexity, personalities, ideas, that how we are trapped into that we need to undo that now. In order for us to be free, we need to undo this culture of affliction. And so for that, Tonglen practice and meditation practice are the most important. There's no other method. Tonglen practice will open your heart. Meditation will bring you focus to your own awareness. And then you will have finally you're able to deal with all cultural affliction and ignorance. Then you can see a way out. As we say in America or in the West, at the end of the tunnel, there's a light. You will see a light, how you can get out of darkness. But you will never get out of darkness if you start judging outside and not seeing yourself. The root of the matter here we are talking is ignorant affliction. Not God, not demon, not Satan, no Buddha, no Bhagavan. The root of the matter is seeing ourselves. And by seeing yourself, that's where you find Buddha means awaken. You see awakened mind within you. You see bodhicitta means the mind of great compassion and wisdom. You see that within you. That's really the root of the matter. That's what the Dharma is about. Dharma is not building a culture of some religious organization or institution. Those are all like a external version, not the actual version. The actual Dharma is your own mind. That how you can counter and work with your affliction and how successful you are. That's what makes you hinayana, mahayana, vajrayana. So therefore, meditation practice becomes very, very important. And why is that? Because the space we see within ourselves through that awareness opens up to free us from that samsaric cage. So like that. So let's do a meditation now. Tonight is meditation Thursday. I don't want to, talk too much. So let's do a meditation now. So please sit in the right posture. And then, you should say in your mind, on the zafu or on the cushion is my body. And in my body is my mind. And my mind relaxed, like you drop, like a cowboys and cowgirls, if they throw the lasso and they drop the whole thing like that, you drop your whole mind, so to speak. Just being here and now. And then go to the breathing. Focus your mind to the breath. It's simply just like being aware of the breath. That's it, being aware of the breath. And then, of course, while you're being here and now, you may have a thought or no thought. Doesn't matter. You don't have to look for a thought if there is no thought. But if there is a thought, yes, definitely a thought will arise. And at that time, go back straight to the breath. The breath is reminder. Your awareness is one pointedly with the breath. And then a thought arises, whether it's past thought or future thoughts or whatever thoughts arise, recognize it and say, this is conceptual thought. That's it. Moment you recognize this is a thought, is just simply labeling thought, or conceptual thought, then you go back to the breathing. That's it. No guilt feeling, oh, I lost my mind, or what should I do, or this is not right. Those are all mental gossip. Drop the mental gossip by simply recognizing it. Simply recognizing your thought. That is called Ripa or knower. It's knows. Moment is knows. That's it. Why you want to make more business? Some people do. That's called spiritual materialism. Okay, I dropped it. Now should I see the whole world? Should I see everyone dancing in the whole cosmic? Everyone making love? Everyone saying hi? That's called spiritual materialism. Then that will lead to, again, we build a culture of affliction. It comes to you. So no, the moment you see your thoughts, just relax and trust yourself. You're not going to find confidence and trust in yourself if you panic, if you try to grasp and grasping and clinging here and there. Just drop that. Just remain there. Just do that. Learn how to drop it. We don't know how to drop it. We always try to stir things up, cling and stirring up. That's our culture of duality and the habits that we have built up. So now in meditation, learn to drop it and just remain there. Okay, if nothing happens, fine. If great happens, fine. If universe begin to dance around me, fine too. If the universe doesn't dance around me, that's also fine. You need that kind of mindset. And then just drop it and just be with the breath. Okay? So let's do that. Okay. So when you be persistent with your practice of meditation, don't run away from your meditation. Like sometimes if you feel like overwhelming emotion or overwhelming thought, know that, all thoughts and emotions are like the waves. No matter how high the waves are or how strong the waves are in the ocean, it all came from the ocean and it will all go back into the ocean. Same thing, whatever your emotion thoughts are, if you just sit and persistent in your meditation practice, they will dissolve. They have no other place than to go back to its source. So therefore, if there's a strong certain emotion, certain thoughts, like pressure build up, just sit and sit and sit. At some point, it's like a rope, lasso, it will unwind and it will drop. So the main point is, of course, meditation practice should be like discipline. Every day you should do that. Then you can see the changes happening in your life, in your mind, and um, and then also keep the awareness. Like during post meditation time, you will be dealing with a lot of situation in your life, and naturally, as I explained earlier, there'll be all kinds of cultures, cultures of aggression, cultures of attachment, cultures of jealousy, this and that. But you will be able to slice through them. Instead of they affecting you, you will conquer all of them through your awareness. So please continue your meditation. And then during post-meditation state, bring compassion to all being and to yourself also, such as you are like distraction. You can feel compassion to your distracted mind. This distracting mind is what pulls you from your ground awareness and lets you float all around in the universe. So try to bring that through your awareness and through compassion. And of course, compassion is an important step, but the finally is the wisdom, awareness that you need to be here and now. And then, of course, the mind, you cannot stop. It will come up, some kind of stories, some kind of gossip, mental gossip, subconscious gossip. You need to see that. And then you'll be able to go deeper into your awareness and the spaciousness, openness, joy, like the conflict, the suffering and pain in our mind comes when there's too many conflicts. Once the conflicts are uh, dissolve, then there will be no conflict. You will feel the openness, joy, bliss, freedom. And then deeper and deeper, you will be able to cross across the ocean of samsaric cultures and then see the true awareness, union of wisdom and compassion, find the enlightened awareness. So that will all happen because that's what you have in your mind. Your mind essence is basic goodness for the nature, awakened nature. So please continue your practice like that. Meditation practice, discipline every day, shine or rain, doesn't matter. We have 3 times breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or twice a day, whatever you eat every day to maintain. Your practice should be like that also. Then that's what nourishment and meditation is the one which will solve all, remove all ignorance and affliction. And then truly you will see your awakened mind. And that's something very, very deep. So let's do a dedication. You have any question? Yeah, if you have any question, this question and answer period.
I have one question, please. Has Mrs. Monson's root guru achieved fruition? Is he back with us, Mrs. Monson's root guru?
Well, he's a very great Lama, Chhoje Rinpoche, He's in Latin, one of the greatest Lama in the Nyingma tradition.
Has he been reborn, sir?
Oh, he's not, he said he's not coming back. he said, I heard he left a will. He said, don't worry, About me, I'm not coming back.
Don't look for me.
Don't look for me, he said. That's what I said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So now, soon, I'd like to remind people, uh, there will be a solar eclipse, I think next Thursday. I'm
Yes,
not exactly, I think Wednesday night or Thursday.
at 3:52 a.m.
Yeah, Thursday early morning. So solar eclipse are very powerful time. Uh, Everything we do, good and bad, it multiplies. So therefore, during that time, those who are doing their Wondro practice or Tonglen practice or meditation, it'll be very powerful. So it says it's basically 100 million times more powerful than usual. So therefore, I highly recommend people, if you can do some practice, get up early in the morning during their time, it'll be great beneficial for you. So like healing mantra practice, or Vajraguru mantra practice, or Mani Padme, the mantra of compassion, or mantra of Mother Tara, Tare Tutare Ture Soha, any mantra, or Tonglen practice, or meditation, it'll be very beneficial to you. So that's my suggestion. Okay, thank you. And then, so if you have any other question, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, then we will conclude here tonight. And then next Thursday, I'm going to give teaching on the new moon, which is the Thursday. Okay.
One question, what about trauma practice for the eclipse?
Yes, those who are doing trauma, you should do your trauma practice. Whether it's trauma Wondro practice or actual trauma practice, please do that. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's dedicate the merit now. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the name, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus defeat the neuroses which are. Please, somebody say that.
From
My
the
English.
turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and
Sickness
death,
and death.
from the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Pray for the world, please. Keep your compassionate, awareness. Do a practice, like we say like New Year's time, what's what they say, people, oh, my resolution. Sometimes make a resolution like truly, I mean, that's how it's been done actually in the past time. Like there's a Bodhisattva avatar, a Bodhichara avatar teaching. There are like 10 chapters in there. The chapter on generosity, the chapter on ethics, the chapter on patience, and so on and so forth. All those chapters. And you can sometimes, do like, this week, my practice will be on generosity. This week, my practice will be on ethics. This week, my practice will be on patience. And if you do that, it will be very, beneficial. Try that. This week I will keep my meditation awareness. So then that tremendous beneficial will be there. Of course, the general Dharma practice will help, but sometimes we need like reminder. So if we can remind ourselves to a specific, quality, like for example, for immeasurable compassion, immeasurable kindness, immeasurable equanimity, immeasurable rejoice. Make that like a week practice sometimes. This week, my practice will be particularly focused on this subject. I think it can be very beneficial. Okay. Thank you very much. Everyone, stay well, healthy. Good night. Okay.
Thank you.